Well, Bob Parker is the Mayor of Christchurch and he joins us on the phone from there now. Good afternoon, Bob Parker. Look, the residents of Christchurch must be absolutely exhausted with all this unwelcome seismic activity.
Well, if you go back, it started back at the end of 2010 in September. So, yeah, we've had 15, getting on for 16 months of this stuff. And you're right, we're reasonably fed up with it. But we've learned to live with it. Today was a pretty rude awakening again. It's not the kind of new year we want, but no lives were lost, no serious damage was done. The quakes happened out in the Pacific, which has limited the amount of damage that would have taken place on land, but no serious problems at all, but certainly an unpleasant way to start your day.
OK, can you just talk us through what these latest tremors felt like for people in the city?
Well, depending on where you were, if you were closer to the coast, they would feel shorter and sharper. The main event at about 5:45 was 2 quakes, separated only by a few seconds. So the impact further inland was just a rolling motion. It probably ran for 10 or 15 seconds. Not too violent, but enough to let you know that Mother Nature has her own view of how to start the day. And not pleasant. Most people take it in their stride. For some people, though, of course, it's just it could be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and they're fed up with it. But we're learning to cope in a new environment. We know it'll have an end. We're just not quite sure when that's going to be.
Well, the tally of tremors and aftershocks now must be almost impossible to count. Can you forgive the pun if I ask, how unsettling is this for the residents of your city?
Well, it's always unsettling. One of the reasons is that you don't really get a warning, apart from the fact that we know we're now in a prolonged seismic sequence. One will just turn up out of the blue, and for the next few hours you'll have a few more bumps and shakes normally, and then it dies away again. We've had reasonably long spells with negligible activity, but it's an unusual sort of seismic event, and not just like one earthquake followed by a series of aftershocks which fades away in a few months, but in fact a series of smaller earthquakes in a sense, almost running in parallel, as if there's an area of the bedrock that's unpinning itself pin by pin. That's sort of the sensation. So the damage that was caused earlier is on the way to being repaired. That's a massive task, and we're growing the local economy as we begin to move into that rebuild phase. But nobody enjoys the earthquakes, let's be frank, but we're learning to cope with them, and our systems are a lot better at responding now. We've had plenty of practice, let's face it.
Certainly. Bob Parker, because these tremors were focused off the coast, were there any concerns held about the possibility of tsunami or a tidal action like that?
No, not from the area these quakes are coming from. It's a shallow area, not far offshore, about between 5 and 10 kilometres offshore. The faults that are breaking are relatively short, and the measure of that is in the seismic energy they're releasing. The longer the fault line, the greater the Richter scale reading. But the other element that's missing is a significant vertical shift of any large area of the seabed. These are sideways slipping movements. They're not vertical displacements. And it's when you get those big vertical displacements over a large area that a tsunami becomes a real possibility, as in the case of Japan, where the seabed over a long distance moved several metres vertically. Massive displacement, wave goes inland. In our case, small, short faults, relatively low seismicity, and no vertical component, so we're safe from that. But some people will reach that conclusion quickly and start to consider evacuating. But the reality is, although we're watching it closely, that's not a threat at the moment.
OK, you say people are taking the decision to evacuate. Have many residents decided it's just all too much and they've made the decision to leave the city altogether?
Well, from a base population in the greater city area of about 500,000 people, which is approximately half the population of this island that we live in, we've lost about 10,000 people permanently. So, that's a significant number, although small percentage-wise. And, of course, we've also had about another 6,000 people coming into the city to live. As the workforce begins to grow, we'll need to reach out for another 30,000, 40,000 people in the months and the years ahead as we look for more skilled trades to get involved in the rebuild process. So it will balance itself out. But our view is, look, if people need to leave for their own reasons, that we support them and we understand, and some people need to take that shift for their own well-being or for their family concerns. But amazingly, really, a very small percentage of people.
OK, Mayor of Christchurch, Bob Parker, thank you very much for talking to Afternoon Live.
OK.